Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Daily Spirit Lift. It's Pastor Joseph. It's a sort of gray day up on God's Hill. And today's message is about social media and what you should be doing during this pandemic. A couple years ago, I read about a story where people who use social media tend to have lower self-esteem than people who have sworn off it. And the researchers, the psychologists that looked into this, they said that the average person has X number of friends, and what that means is that at any one time, the average person sees people who are doing fun things and are on vacation every day of every year. So you who go to work, and all of us who go to work and do the things that we do day to day, look around and see, oh, well, they're having more fun than I am. And you look around and you see, oh, the next week somebody else is having more fun than I am. And it gives you a keeping up with the Joneses kind of inferiority complex. And I've seen that a little bit in the pandemic, this idea that you're supposed to come out of this stay-at-home order with a better body, or people explaining how wonderful their homeschool experience with their children has been. And I worry about that, not because I don't think they're authentic or anything, but I worry about people comparing themselves to one another. People saying, I didn't get enough done. I haven't improved myself. I haven't taken this opportunity. And that's what I worry about. My concern for all of us is that we are called during this time to be attentive. We're not necessarily called to learn a new instrument. We're not necessarily called to do a new hobby, become proficient in something that we've never done before, speak a new language, make breakfast in bed for our partners every day. I think that can cause us to look at ourselves and other people with a very critical eye. And I only want to tell you one thing that I think you should do during this pandemic. And there's only one thing, and I don't even want you to put it on Facebook. And that one thing is, I want you to get in touch with where you are emotionally. There's something psychologists talk about. It's called emotional granularity. And that's just a fancy way of saying that you can identify very specifically what it is that you are feeling or experiencing. And the reason that's important is because the more you can figure out, the more granular you can make your emotions, the more you can drill down and become specific about what you're feeling, the better you'll be able to handle what's coming next. Little kids, you've seen this with little kids. Little kids can't control their emotions in the same way. They don't have emotional granularity because they don't have the vocabulary for it. So what do you get? You get a 2-year-old's tantrum when she doesn't want to put on her shoes. You get people who are angry all day, but they don't know what they're angry about. You get people who wander around all day sad about something, but they're not sure what that sadness comes from. I think the clearest way for me that emotional granularity has come into my life, that I've figured it out, deals with loneliness and being alone. I've talked about that in a previous talk here, but just for me personally, being alone is not necessarily a lonely time for me. I love being alone. I was just talking with my wife about this the other day. Being alone is not necessarily a problem. But there are times when you are lonely. And there are times when you feel that people don't understand. You're the only person who's going through what you're going through. And to be able to make the distinction and to say when you're lonely, no, I really need to reach out to somebody who understands me. To make the distinction and say the reason I'm lonely right now is because I'm feeling disconnected from my family, from my best friend, from someone who I respect at work. To be able to define that emotion as specifically as possible. Sometimes we don't define it specifically as possible at all. We know that we're hurting and that we feel wounded, but we don't try and figure out what caused the wound. And so what we do is we strike out at other people because we don't feel good ourselves. Or sometimes, instead of striking out at other people, we strike out at ourselves. That's what stress eating is, isn't it? You don't feel good, so you go and you grab the nearest tub of ice cream. Or mindless watching of television, binge watching. Or you do some retail therapy. The only thing that I think you should come out of this pandemic with that's different, the only thing that I would say is really vital for you isn't the stuff that you can put on Facebook. It's interior. The only thing that's vital is what's going on in your soul, in your spirit. Can you name it? Since all people are different, some people will say, yeah, I've been doing this all my life. This is no problem. They'll think this is an easy thing to do. But I don't think that's the vast majority of people. I think most of us have put it off. Most of us change the subject when things get too emotional, when things get too stuck, when we feel too wounded. But my hope and prayer for you all, friends, today is that you will find a way during this pandemic time, with this extra time. Maybe it's the commute time that you don't have in your car, or the preparation time for some things at your job, or just the fact that you don't have Sunday worship to travel to. You've picked up a few extra moments there. Find out where it is that your emotions are taking you and leading you. Can you really name them? Do you know the difference between loneliness and being alone? Do you know the difference between righteous indignation and inappropriate anger? Do you know the difference between being spiritually hungry for God and just being sad? Can you name what's going on in you? I hope that you can. I encourage you to do so. Know that God's Spirit is with us and companions us through this journey. And let's see what we can do to bring ourselves into the most wonderful presence of the Almighty, and to know ourselves so much better than we do. All right, folks. Stay safe out there. Good to see you. Good to be with you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.